Do you want to live your best life? Join me, Camille St. Ange, on this journey where we'll chat with people around the globe about how to have fun while finding balance in life. We'll chat with designers, makers, culinarians, and people of the crafty sort, and we'll help you find your creative gift in life. We'll also talk with health enthusiasts like yogis, CrossFitters, and nutrition gurus. And we'll even have a frank conversation about how you can live your best life by balancing art, body, and soul. In this episode, we're going to be talking with Dr. Jaron Banks. He is a doctor of chiropractic, but he's more than just a chiropractor. He is also somebody who cares deeply about others, and because of his commitment to treating the whole patient, they get amazing results. And I'm a person who has been a benefit of that. I've experienced that. He's helped me. But he's an incredibly talented care provider, a practitioner. And he does more than just help you align your back. He really helps you figure out what you're doing in life, how you're moving, and what you can do differently so that you can be fit for life, to keep moving, living a vibrant life. And one of the things he's going to talk about is some people are very discouraged. They've been let down. They've tried everything. Maybe they've been in chronic pain for 30 years, and he has been able to help people in that situation. I think that's absolutely incredible. And one of the things that I think is extremely important about the message that Dr. Banks shares is remaining curious. Now, I know you've probably heard that a lot lately, but it's really nice to hear it from somebody who is a care provider and talks about remaining curious so that you can continue to live well, a vibrant life. He's going to dispel what the myths are about chiropractic service from 30 years ago, because it's not the same. They do a lot more than help align your back. They help you align your life. And Dr. Banks has really specialized in shoulder care. And I encourage you to find him on Instagram at The Shoulder Coach. And he is doing amazing things there with people around the world, Australia, Europe, here in the United States, Canada, and all over. He's, like I said, a great practitioner, and I'm a big fan. I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm going to talk about your some of your credentials.
Okay.
And then, so I show, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you have a master's in sports science rehabilitation, and you interned at Olympia Orthopedics, which speaks volumes for why you know what you know too. And you also and I don't know if certifications is the right word for this, so correct me, but your active release technique, and then that's FAKTR. Do you call factor? Or?
Yeah, it stands for something longer.
Yes.
But...
Yeah, functional kinetic treatment.
Uh-huh.
And then Graston technique.
It's usually pronounced Graston.
Graston.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Graston. I also showed that you've worked with Division I athletes.
I have. Yeah.
Wow. And then runners, CrossFitters, youth athletes, and that you actually kind of zero in on families too. So
yeah,
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so Dr. Banks, it's a little fuzzy to me about how we actually met. I can't even remember how we first met. I don't know. Do you remember how we first met?
I think it was like a wellness fair, Port of Olympia. I think were you working there at the time?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I think it actually goes way back because I did a running clinic with you way back, and I think we were still kind of in lockdown a little bit. And I did a running clinic with you, and somehow I got connected to you in CrossFit because we're both CrossFit enthusiasts. And then I also participated in you have a program that's on how to bulletproof your shoulder.
Yeah.
And so somehow you came into my life, and I don't even remember how it happened, but I've just been a big fan of yours ever since. And part of the reason that I'm a fan of yours is you're just so relatable, and you really make people feel comfortable. It doesn't feel overly clinical, like you're just treating the symptom. I feel like you're talking to the person, and treating the whole person. And so I don't know if that's intentional on your part, or
I appreciate the compliment, and I've always tried to be real. I mean, and just connect with what matters to people, because it just is more interesting, I guess,
yeah.
than just kind of having a cookie cutter approach. And so it's fun for me to get to know kind of what really drives you, and what drives me is to help people be able to do what they love, what drives them.
Well, so I appreciate that. What's kind of funny though that you probably don't know is you have personally affected me in a few different ways, and one is I can forever never not see people with crummy arm glide.
Oh yeah.
When they're running, because I knew I had a problem, but I was just, I'm one of these people. I've got a million things going on, had kids running around and working, and trying to, coaching and doing these things. And I just didn't dedicate the time to fixing my arm form. And so when I was in your running clinic, you taught me how to get my arm glide.
Yeah.
And so you're involved, so you're a doctor of chiropractic, but you also are somebody who rehabilitates athletes and CrossFit enthusiasts, the everyday mover. I'm guessing that runners are in there as well.
Oh yeah.
Because of the knees and the hips and everything else. And what's really interesting is that I'm wondering if you can help unpack the myth that people might still have today about chiropractic care, because it is not what it was 30 years ago. I mean, I never thought I was going to be able to use my shoulder again. I mean, it was bad. You probably don't remember, but I could barely move my arm. It was terrible. And I am just like so grateful. So what is like one of the biggest myths that you think is out there today that we need to dispel?
I guess as far as myths around healing or injury or pain or recovery would be that you need something done to you to kind of fix a dysfunction in your movement or a pain or an injury. A lot of times it comes down to you learning how to retrain the way that you move. Because a lot of times we've just fallen into bad patterns. And if you learn specific corrective exercises that retrain that pattern, that resolves the pain and that promotes the healing in more cases than it doesn't.
How do you discover when somebody's got this pattern though? I mean, I think most people just think that they're coming in because I was in a car accident.
Sure.
That's the story I had in my head, is I go to a chiropractor because I was ran over by a car, which is a true story, right?
Yeah.
and it's caused me problems, and it's part of the reason I had a chiropractor who treated me. He told me, Camille, if you want to overcome this, you got to work on your core.
Yeah.
This is never going to resolve unless you do these other things.
Right.
The other chiropractor who left an impression on me, who happens to be sitting in the room, told me something about, and I can't quote him, Dr. Banks, but you said something to me in a shoulder clinic about the importance of how we move and really not giving up on how we can improve. And your message though was taking this, how we take care of ourselves, into longevity and being able to move all through our life.
Right.
But you said it in such an elegant way. So between the guy who told me you got to work on your core, and you talking about, being fit for life, which I started using the hashtag fit for life after that clinic. I'm wondering how, how do you break that barrier, figuring out how people are moving and how to get them to the next stage.
And so you asked about patterns, like how do I know if somebody's in a pattern, right? We all have a pattern. We all have kind of a mind muscle program of how we move, right? Whether it's the way that we're designed to, or whether it's a compensation because of an injury, or because of just the way our body has adapted to repetitive postures of kind of sitting at the computer all day, or having your head down in the phone, or whatever it is. We get into these patterns, right? And then sometimes an incident sets that pattern kind of even deeper, or to where it becomes more and more painful, right? And so it's just identifying it takes seeing somebody that has that training to see what the pattern is, and to guide you in that process of, okay, here's what you can focus on to change that pattern.
Yeah, that's a big thing to help people with in life. Frankly, I don't think even as a coach in CrossFit, I thought quite to that level. I was lucky that we had chiropractic training. I don't know, that's not the right word. We had a chiropractor teach us when we had new students, here are some signs you need to look for. Yeah. And just look at some things before you even start working with them, so that you can identify a problem right away.
Right.
And we want you to stay, just some basic safety things.
Yeah.
But did you always know that you wanted to be doing this and helping people this way, or how did that come about?
Well, it's been an evolution for me, but I did know from an early age, I think, that I had a passion for health, for wellness, for taking care of people. My mom was a big influence in that. She showed me that, health and wellness comes from your lifestyle. It comes from the nutrients that you put in your body, more than, medicines or going to the doctor. And then even from the age of 5, we had a family friend who was a chiropractor that kind of taught us the wellness lifestyle, and showed us that, by aligning the body and moving better, that your body functions better.
Yeah. And it's, that just is all about kind of my philosophy and why I do what I do on Art, Body, and Souls, because I think all of these things are connected, right? Moving well, right. To me, it's not about extremes. It's about just moving well every day, eating well, like you said, getting the nutrients that you need. And then that, to me, it's that soulful part. And where I bring in art and things like that. I think you kind of have an art in yourself, though, just by being a practitioner, which you are a talented practitioner, because you're very well known. If you look through all of your reviews, you're known for seeing the whole person. I don't know if you've looked at that to pull out like a concept, but that was a concept that came across loud and clear from all of your client reviews.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really nice. So one of the things I think people don't know about, and we talked a little bit about this when you were dispelling the myth, is that people were like, oh, I just go to the chiropractor because I was in a car accident, I hurt my back. But it's much more than that today. And you have been trained in and have been practicing active release techniques. It has a very long name. It's FAKTR, Functional Kinetic Treatment, and then Graston technique. And I don't think probably listeners have any idea what this is. Can you help unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. So there have been amazing advances in the world of corrective movement medicine and in soft tissue therapies that can promote healing. So if you've heard of, there are different names, so it gets a little confusing, but Graston is also known as scraping or A-stem, or in Eastern medicine, they do something similar called gua sha.
Yeah, I have a gua sha stone.
Yeah,
okay.
And that's becoming popular in the face now, the gua sha little tools and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because it affects the fascia, which is all these layers of kind of connection between muscles and layers of skin and all the different body parts. The fascia is everywhere, right? But when you have an injury and fascia tears and then it tries to heal, it's putting down scar tissue, and sometimes it's very tangled. And even just micro injuries from little strains in your workouts can create some of these adhesions. And Graston, ASTEM, functional and kinetic therapeutic rehab, these use, scraping and cross friction to help break up those kind of tangles, those spider webs of scar tissue that are deep inside, so that you can move more freely. But it also promotes blood flow and circulation. So there's more healing, because you don't heal if you don't have blood flow. And a lot of your tendons don't have good blood flow. And so you need that kind of stimulation to stimulate that, to promote that.
So let me make sure I've got this right. So what you're saying is that this process, when we get injured, this fascia builds up and creates a very, like a spider web, tangled web of scar tissue.
Yeah.
And that prevents us from moving properly. And when we're moving, I think I know this, when we're moving improperly, we're actually now prone for injury.
We're creating a stress on other tissues now.
Yeah, and that this technique where you break up that fascia then promotes healing through blood flow, and then you probably can move better and actually start to heal.
Yeah, your body has an incredible ability to heal, but sometimes it needs just that little prompting, that little stimulus. And so for your kind of ligaments and tendons that are really dense, they don't do that very well on their own. And so that's why a lot of people get like rotator cuff surgery, for example, because those tendons just aren't healing. But this type of cross-friction scraping, which you can do to yourself, you don't have to, have somebody else do it to you. Now, it is helpful to have somebody who's trained to get specific, but you can do a lot of this yourself as well to promote healing.
Yes, I had a physical therapist when I had plantar fasciitis. Actually, it was like, oh, we're gonna have to do this. Yeah. So I did that. My cousin, he did a lot of jujitsu, and he got really tangled up, and he had to do gua sha everywhere. And I was like, what is this gua sha?
Yeah, and some providers can be pretty mean about it. They can really bruise you up, but it doesn't have to be that extreme.
Yeah.
Just some gentle cross friction can create some of that stimulation that'll help.
Yes. Crescendo has been my approach in life.
Yeah.
Start little and then
gradually.
Gradually.
And that's perfect for this technique, because the technique itself does desensitize when you have pain and inflammation. Sometimes you're overly kind of sensitive to pain. And so, you want to start gradual, and it will desensitize and help you to tolerate more pressure and movement.
Well, I talked about this earlier. You're known for truly seeing people. That's what's like when I mentioned that a few moments ago. So I'm trying to think about how you would cultivate that kind of awareness in a world that really is just treating symptoms all the time. And how I don't know, how do you approach that?
I guess for me, it comes from a deep curiosity. I'm always kind of analyzing and curious about, well, what else is deeper? What else is going on? What is kind of the big picture and the root cause? And so I think when we treat symptoms, it's because we're just jumping as quick as we can to what we think might be a solution or a problem, rather than kind of sticking with it and diving deeper into, well, what's really behind this? I think Einstein had said something about if he had an hour to solve a problem that would save the world, he would, I think he'd said he'd spend like 59 minutes thinking about, what's the right question, right before the last minute of what the solution is going to be.
Oh, I love that quote. I've heard that before, and that's been something that I have ruminated on many times in life. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so really thinking about the root cause. Yeah, I think people in the past, and I know a lot of my friends now are all very focused on chiropractic care as part of they consider it self-care. Yeah, and these fallacies of just seeing somebody because of a car accident have kind of they're starting. I think they're starting to fade away.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about here, where you focus on what the problem is, and before you get to the solution. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And as far as chiropractic care after an injury, that's very relevant. But yeah, a
sure,
lot of people who don't think about it in the same way as you would maybe the dentist of, you wouldn't wait to see the dentist until you had a tooth knocked out or like a tooth chipped, right?
right.
Hopefully you would go on a more preventative basis for like a checkup to identify, okay, how is the health of my teeth and what needs to be done to kind of catch problems early and clean them up so that they last as long as possible. We can do the same thing for our bodies, whether that's with chiropractic or a movement specialist, because I help people remotely as well with their kind of correcting their movement. And so identifying the movement dysfunction early before it's a problem, well, that saves you from the damage and that loss of kind of growth and strength that you could have gained.
Preventative medicine, right? I think that's what right? That's what it's about. It's like, don't wait until the tire's fallen off the car
Right.
before you go in to see your mechanic,
Yeah.
right? If you go in and get your checkups.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny to think about it that way. We would never probably have our kids wait till something was really wrong. You go in, right? And you get kids, to their regular growth and wellness checkups, and even your car for that matter.
Yeah.
You take your car in regularly, but we need to take ourselves in. It's more than just our primary care physician, because they're not checking all of these other things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the healthcare system, it's going to be more reactive to things going wrong. And a lot of people get frustrated, especially if you're talking about a performance context, like in CrossFit. They get frustrated sometimes if they go to a medical provider or even a physical therapist whose mindset is more about just kind of pulling you out of kind of the worst situation, just kind of getting you back to a baseline of just functioning through the day. But it stops. They kind of release you or don't have the tools to take you to that next kind of performance level where you're able to do the things that are more interesting and more exciting in a fitness kind of setting.
Well, so I see you on social media, and you will be like, "Hey, I'm working on this." You're not like the perfectionist person that says, "I do this perfect." You're like, "Hey, here's what I'm doing to fix this kind of deficit I've got here, and here's where I was at." You'll even do like a before and after.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, so how did you get into CrossFit?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just because we have that connection, and I'm really
Right.
curious.
Well, it's really fun for me to kind of think back on that because it was a big realization. It was a big discovery for me when I first went into a CrossFit gym and I saw the way people were moving. They were training functional movement patterns like the hip hinge and the squat, and they were getting coached on good technique and form for it, and they were practicing these kind of functional movements with core activation, with strengthening their back, and they were doing it with weight. And I realized this is what we're missing. This is what we aren't getting in kind of our culture right now. Because in the clinic, what I was starting to discover was that people were coming in, they had thrown out their back, even in younger ages, like in their 20s and 30s. People were coming in that had thrown out their back so bad they couldn't even walk. And what caused it was they were picking up a sock off the floor because their cores and their backs, they were so deconditioned and they hadn't trained good movement patterns. And so it was too much stress on the spine. The muscles were not supporting them. And so some of the muscles, some of the elements of the joint just overstrained, and that laid them up. They couldn't hardly
Over
move.
a sock.
Yeah.
I heard this before. I just was bending down to get a sock.
Right.
And I threw my back out.
Yeah.
Which is why this other chiropractor had told me, you have got to work on your core. And which really was kind of my impetus to CrossFit. He said, well, why don't you start with Pilates? And I was, and I know there's a lot of people who love Pilates. That's just, that wasn't my jam. So I saw a sign that said, Russian kettlebells.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
I got there, and they did have Russian kettlebells,
Uh-huh.
but it was a CrossFit gym.
Okay.
And so I went in and I started training there, and I talked to him about my injuries, and he said, "We will help you with your core."
Yeah.
Fast forward, several years later, now I'm doing this CrossFit training for a coach, becoming a coach. And one of the things they really emphasized in this, which I think is fascinating to people who are listening, that might be fascinating, is that the number one, and I don't know if it holds true today, but the number one reason people were ending up in, as they were older, in nursing homes and facilities that assist you because they have what they call decrepitation,
Yeah.
complete loss of their core.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was like the very first thing that they talked about when I got trained as a coach was we need to help people be functional.
Yeah.
So that you can pick up a 40-pound bag of dog food,
Right.
and get it from your car into your house and not hurt your back.
Right. Exactly.
And yeah, so I guess at the root of that is really, like what you're like, I want people to be fit for life.
Yeah.
And that was what part of my draw was getting fit for life through that.
Yes.
And not that everything revolves around CrossFit. It's just been an interesting sport. It started out, so grassroots, and it's kind of been more commercialized in some areas than others, in the big metro areas. But the community part, I don't know what you have to say about that, but I really love the community part. How about you?
Well, no, that's been a big part of what's kept me excited about CrossFit, and what's kept it a very consistent part of my life is we're social creatures, and the bonds that you form when you struggle together, you suffer together, you encourage each other, and you grow really close to your CrossFit family.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much that they do. They go to other gyms. We used to go on Saturdays and visit Annie out in Yelm.
Yeah.
And we would do all of these fundraisers for firefighters, for schools, for cancer.
Yes.
If there was, children in the community who needed money for cancer treatment.
Right.
And that still goes on today.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good
Love that.
thing. Well, so let's talk about lifestyle and prevention a little bit. So what do you wish that people did daily to take care of their bodies before they break? If there was something you could tell people that you'd want them to do.
Yeah, so I would say every day do something to get just a little bit stronger.
Yes. Yes. There's a woman in New Zealand I listen to. She's written over 150 published papers on women's health. And she was like, you need to do 11 push-ups a day. Everyone should be able to do 11 push-ups a day. I do way more than 11.
Yeah.
But I make sure, and when I heard her say that, I was like, you know what? Even the days that I'm not working out, I'm still going to do my push-ups.
Yeah. Right.
Every day.
Yes. And what's interesting, as I've gone through an evolution of learning more, going deeper into corrective movement medicine, is I've realized there are different types of strength, and a lot of types of strength that we I guess wouldn't think about normally, like in Pilates or yoga, for example. You're using muscles in a completely different way.
Yes.
And so it's very humbling, even for a CrossFitter, to go to like a yoga class.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because they're sweating and they're struggling, and there may not even be a weight involved. They're just trying to hold a position, and you're using muscles that just haven't been trained. So your body, it's very adaptable. You just need to kind of give it that stimulus, and so training it in different ways. And so variety is really the spice of life. And so just doing 11 push-ups a day is good, right? But if that's the only exercise you do, right, then that's a problem, because then you're getting yourself out of balance. That movement pattern we talked about is going to pull your shoulders more forward, right, if you're not strengthening the back at the same time.
Good point. Well, I am doing yoga these days. Yeah, there's a hot yoga studio by my house, and so I've been going there. And then they also have a lot of other different modality things they do. So yeah, but that's a good point. It's like don't discount these things. Yoga's great. There's
Right.
some really, really strong yogis out there. Some of
Oh,
the
yeah.
things that they do is amazing.
Right.
They might not be able to do some of the things that I can do, but we learn from each other.
Right.
Okay, well, I want to ask you a few questions here. So this is kind of like legacy in life. So what are you most proud of? And if you could give someone listening a message who feels broken physically or emotionally, what would you tell them? So that was actually two questions.
Two questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So first question, what am I most proud of?
Yeah. That's a hard
It's
one,
a hard
isn't it?
question because
You're a father.
I'm a father, and being a father means a lot to me. I always looked forward to having kids and just watching them grow and participating in what they're learning and how they're growing. And I'm very proud of what I've seen my kids accomplish, both physically and intellectually, and artistically and spiritually. I mean, in so many areas, right? And so, and I can't take credit for all that they are, but I hope that my influence has, been more positive than detrimental, right? And that in their growth.
Well, so I know part of your philosophy in your practice is that you really like to help families as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that's tied to that always wanting to have been a father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love to see, I believe that a lot of our wholeness comes from having strong, loving relationships in our lives, having that support. And so I love to see that and support that everywhere that I can, and try to foster that in my own home. So I am proud of that. And I'm proud of the people that I've been able to kind of guide in their journey to become strong when they've come back from being very broken. So I'm also very proud of the effort that they put in, the commitment that they put in, and the process that I've been able to kind of guide or show them so that they had the tools that they needed to be able to do that.
Awesome. If you could give one message to someone listening who feels broken physically or emotionally, what would you tell them?
So if they feel broken physically or mentally, you said, right?
Emotionally,
right?
maybe.
Emotionally,
yeah. They kind of usually go hand in hand a little bit.
Yeah. So if you're feeling broken, my message would be to stay hungry, stay curious, because there are solutions out there. And so two parts, I guess, would be to stay hungry, stay curious, even if you've been discouraged and let down by people that you thought would be a solution, be an answer. I've helped so many people overcome chronic pain of 20 or 30 years that had seen multiple doctors, multiple chiropractors, multiple physical therapists, and had only seen kind of minimal or temporary improvements, but they were able to resolve their pain and dysfunction completely by just learning better ways to move. And so the solutions are out there. And for myself, I just had to go further and further with those that are innovating, with those who are the experts to find that. And so it's out there. So one is stay hungry, curious. The other is to reach out, to keep reaching out. It's hard when you've been let down to reach out for guidance or for help. But if you're not looking and if you're not asking, it's hard for those things to find you.
Well, you're a very talented practitioner. You've helped so many people, and myself included. And I think that curiosity and understanding of people really probably leads to, besides just being super smart and having all of the educational background and putting that into practice with your heart and soul, that makes you pretty talented. All right, so I'm going to do some rapid fire questions on you here, just for fun. Okay, coffee or tea?
Water.
Okay, good one. You've got water over here in a water bottle. Burpees or a long hike?
long hike.
Yeah. I don't know anybody who would choose burpees.
No.
Favorite part of the body to work on?
Mm.
You're like, favorite?
I've really gone deep into the shoulder, and that's my big focus now. The
Oh,
shoulder.
and I got to tell you, that's a good one. So many people need the shoulder help.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's huge. Uh, what's your hype song on your way to the gym?
Hype song. You know, I'm not somebody that really hypes up.
So you don't have one.
So I'm I'm always kind of thinking and trying to learn. That's really what drives me and excites me, is learning. And so I'm listening to audiobooks and podcasts, and I'm interacting with other people. So I'm kind of boring in that way.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you were hoping that would come up in our conversation that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I had any real hope for anything specific to come up. I'm just grateful to connect and to see the good that you're doing in the
Aw,
world and
yeah.
sharing your gifts. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to share my gifts and to help give people tools and empower people with, if nothing else, the hope that things can get better.
Aw. Well, thank you, Dr. Banks. I appreciate you being here today.
Yeah.
I hope you come back again sometime.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That's a wrap for today's conversation with Dr. Jaron Banks. I hope you caught the same thing I did, that a mix of science, care, and humanity makes him such a powerful practitioner. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend who might need a little inspiration or healing insight today. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. We've got more soulful, real, and practical conversations coming your way. As always, I make it a personal goal to lift someone up every day, and I hope you'll do the same. Until next time, take good care of yourself and keep moving toward the life that brings you energy, joy, and connection.